Now then, on to the real important things. Vintages or vintage styles. First we're going to try is late bottle vintage, a style that Taylor's kind of invented. This is their 2001 LBV, £10.49, and you can find it everywhere. I've got a proper, look, get a load of that, it's a proper ruby port colour. And it smells like a proper ruby port. It's damsons and plums and a bit of cherries, that kind of thing. Maybe a kind of currantiness to it as well. Quite intense, not massively complex. It's quite a pure single direct flavour. Nice though. Yeah, it's quite tangy, quite spicy, pretty direct. There's a sort of grip there, a little bit of grip in the palate. That's the sort of thing you want to have with Stilton, actually. If you're going to have something that's a pretty big, powerful flavour and you just want something to bash up against it, Taylor's LBV. Now, vintages. They don't declare a vintage every year, about 1 year in 3, 1 year in 4 maybe, something like that, through a decade. So, sometimes when they don't declare a vintage, and probably 2005 will be a vintage, but people haven't declared it yet, 2003 was, I think. Anyway, 1998 wasn't, but sometimes one vineyard, a really good one, in this case Vergellis, Quinta de Vergellis, the Vergellis vineyard, Quinta, in 1998 they said, it's not quite a vintage, but it's almost there. So they made a single vintage wine from that. Not a generally declared vintage, but it had some distinct characters from a pretty good year that came out. Have a good look at it. Quinta de Vergellis, just to go and tell you exactly how much it is £24.99 in Tesco, Majestic, Obbins and Sainsbury's. Much more complexity to it. This has got a leafy character, currants and mint and an interesting freshness. There's a real leafiness to this, kind of herbaceous touch, which makes it lovely. It's much more curranty. This actually does have a slightly Ribena pure currant character. And that leafy spice, slightly peppery. It is peppery. It comes through on the palate as well. That is very, very nice. The tannin is a little bit more subtle, a little bit more elegant. Still blue cheeses, but maybe Stilton. Yeah, actually Stilton would still be okay. But it's just reining back. It's got much more complexity to it though. You can tell this is a wine that comes from a good vintage, a good year. It comes from really good vineyards. There's dryness there. More evolution, lasts longer. That is really very good. I would genuinely recommend that. If you're not wanting something that's going to break the bank, that kind of thing gives you all the character, I mean seriously, the kind of complexity of a genuinely good, top-class, vintage-style wine. But, I mean, £25 is a lot of money, but it'll go quite a long way. It'll last 4 or 5 days, maybe a week. Yeah, I'd say probably a week. Although, I suspect you'll want to drink it all in a night. It's a treat you only have it once in a blue moon. Right, here we go. Vintage. This is the 1985, the current release. This is around £60. I do wish you could be here, but then I'm the guy who gets to drink it. Maybe we'll get to do this together sometime. If you have old vintages, do invite me. 1977, anyone over 77, please, just send me an email. I'll come round. Now then, this looks... I'll bring along a decent bottle of something else to share with you. Maybe some of this. It's lighter in colour. It's starting to take on a slightly sort of mulberry tone. It's not tawny in any way, but it is much more subtle. And the noses too, that leafy spice has now just become a much more autumnal, slightly Christmassy spice. Very complex. The spiritousness of the wine has tended to pull back a little bit. It's much more integrated. Real balance to it. Now, that's just very, very good. It is broad, it's complex, it's not one of these things where you say it tastes of A, B, C, D. It's just really beautiful. There is a sweetness there, but it's very much balanced by a spicy character. There's a meatiness. That is a classic thing of Taylor's. They tend to be quite meaty, structured wines. It's... The tannin, the sort of structure, has now really pulled back. It's become much softer when you taste it. It's velvety. As you put it in your mouth, you don't get any kind of grip at all. It's just integrated and harmonious. That's beautiful. There are floral touches in there. there's a kind of potpourri character. I don't know if you have a lot of potpourri around the house, but this kind of smells of it. Oh, that's beautiful. It's kind of terrible to spit it, but it's good. Now then, the last wine we're going to try. You can buy this, it's not widely available, you won't find it in standard retailers. The thing to do is to look on winesearcher.com. It's between 150 and £200. You pay £200 for a bottle of Taylor's 1963, and you've probably paid about £50 too much. You can get it for £140, £150. I inherited this one, so I didn't pay for it, which means I'm going to drink it and enjoy it. I've got it in the decanter. I decanted the Vagelis. You can tell I've already had quite a bit of this actually. Last night I decanted the Vagelis and the Taylor's 85, and then put them back in their bottles, and that's perfectly acceptable. That's perfectly okay. This 63 is very delicate. I didn't want to go and throw it around too much because it really won't stand up to that too much. And as soon as you pour it in the glass, you get that. Just have a look. I don't know if you can see. It's much more subtle. It's a kind of tawny colour. Can you see that? There's a real progression here. 2001, the vintage character, is quite primary and upfront and quite big to smell, but the taste is not so complex. But it's got lots of pure berry fruit flavours. The Vagelis, a bit more subtle. That tannin is there still a little bit, but it's becoming more complex, and you get that leafy spice. The 85 becomes much more potpourri spiced, autumnal, Christmassy. It's subtle and balanced and harmonious. Here, you have to slightly work at it. It smells like just really great wine. There's a sweetness, but there's interesting chocolate aromas to it. I mean, really beautiful, great, first-class, wonderful chocolate. I'm drinking that. Wow. It's a sacrilege to talk about this, really, because you have to think about it for a long time. You have to enjoy it. It's evolving even now. Gradually it's changing. There's berry fruits in there, absolutely. It's still got a real core of fruit. This doesn't taste like a wine that is, when it's over 40 years old. It's still fresh, it's still bright. But you can tell it's had a long time to knit together, to become elegant and subtle, to let everything work alongside each other. It's just beautifully. In terms of its mouthfeel, it comes in at you velvety, soft, pillowy, gentle, silky. There's nothing harsh, there's no angular edges to it at all. The spice isn't grippy, it just lifts up and lifts down. Oh, it's still working, it's very clean, pure, there's nothing dirty. That is just gorgeous wine. It's kind of nice. This is my last glass for a while. I've got, I think, 2 more bottles of this. And I'm going to leave them for a while because there's still obviously many years of beautiful drinking ahead of this wine. It's clean, it's fresh, there's still vibrant things, there's still evolution to happen. Even in the glass, there's still a ruby colour to it. Through a massive sediment. You've got to be very, very subtle about decanting these out. Getting the corks out is a nightmare. Fundamentally, I need to go and get mine recorked because they just collapse when you get into them. But that's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. If you have some, I'll come around and help you drink it. No, seriously, enjoy it yourselves. I hope that's been useful. I hope it's added a little bit of something to the column that we did. We shall do this again because I enjoy it. I'm sitting outside. It's a spring evening, drinking very, very nice wine, all from one wonderful house. I hope you've had as much fun as I have. Give or take the fact that I got to drink all the wines, and I don't know, maybe you did too. If you did, then you will have had as much fun as me. Enjoy these, and we'll do it again together. Alright, thanks very much. Bye.